Over the weekend, a bunch of yokels, including some of the sons of Bundy, you remember the famous Bundy Ranch, including Amon Bundy that you'll see in a second, took over a federal building. These armed thugs decided that they were going to steal other people's stuff, as usual. Now, if you remember the Bundy Ranch, that's what all this started with in the first place. They were illegally grazing on federal land. The Bureau of Land Management told them to cut it out. They were stealing from the American taxpayer. They said, well, we like stealing. No, we're not going to cut it out. And if you try to enforce it, we'll shoot you in the head. And they took out all their weapons. And guess what? The Bureau of Land Management backed down. So emboldened by that, they thought, well, stealing works. So let's take up the case of Dwight and Stephen Hammond, which also cost the government a lot of money. I'll tell you about them in 1 second. And when that doesn't work, let's have a protest. First of all, you're going to have a protest. God bless your heart. I'm in on protest. That's the most American thing you can do. Now, they brought all their weapons to the protest. Okay, that's problematic. I don't like protests with weapons. I think that that's a dangerous idea, but still not breaking any laws. And okay, I get it. You take over federal property and say, if you come in here, we're going to shoot you and kill you. Yeah, then we got a bit of a problem. Then we've got a problem. Okay. So let me tell you how this whole thing started in the first place in Oregon. What are they doing in Oregon? That's not where the Bundy Ranch is at all. Well, Dwight and Stephen Hammond were reported by CNN to be the father-son ranchers who were sentenced to 5 years in prison for covering up poaching and setting fire to 130 acres, which they allege was to reduce invasive plants. Now, here's what happened in reality. They were hunting deers, but it basically was called by what it was, which is an illegal deer slaughter. So they went and did that, and then they want to cover their tracks. Now, they've been convicted on this, so it's not like this is alleged stuff. This is stuff that got proven in court. A jury of their peers said, yeah, they slaughtered all those deer. In order to cover up that original crime, they set fire to 130 acres and cost the government, by the way, $600,000 in just putting out the fire. So a lower court had reduced their sentence anyway earlier, below the 5-year mandatory minimum, but a federal judge subsequently restored the stiffer sentences. Now, look, there's a case to be made. They served their time. They got out. Now, on appeal to bring them back into prison, well, maybe specifically for liberals, that seems a little problematic. But I understand the appeals process took some time, and that is the mandatory minimum. And obviously, they put kids who smoked a joint away for mandatory minimums all the time. Unfortunately, our jails are filled with people like that who barely did anything wrong, but sorry, mandatory minimum. So in this case, the federal government was consistent. They said, no, there's a reason why it's called a mandatory minimum. You got to go serve the 5 years. Now, the Hammonds are out of it at this point because they were happy, I guess, to get these protests in the first place. Then these guys go take over a building and say, we're going to shoot people who come inside. They're like, no, we're not in the building. We don't want to be in the building. They've turned themselves into the cops to serve the rest of their time. So pretty much the Hammonds are out of the story. Don't put it on them going forward. Interesting that the Bundys then, they don't have a cause, and they're a bunch of jackasses who stormed into a federal building with guns. Well, they now change their cause. So in recent statements, the Bundys have de-emphasized the Hammonds, as Huffington Post explains, instead focusing on their plan to restore Eastern Oregon's economy by forcing the federal government to hand over federal lands to local ranchers, miners, and loggers. What? Who elected you the governor of Oregon that you're going to restore Oregon's economy when most of you aren't even from Oregon, and you're going to do it by stealing more federal land and giving it to people you kind of like based on what? Based on what laws that are passed? Well, hey, I like that guy. Yeah, let's give him more land. He's great. He likes the militia. He likes guns. He's super white. I like that guy. Let's give him more land. Really? We're going to do this? We're having this conversation? Are you kidding me? Okay, look, I'm going to ask this throughout. You change their race, change their religion, you get the same result. Does anybody in America believe that? So let's say there was 150 armed Muslims. And then, now we think there's only about a dozen left now in the building. 12 of them decide with guns that they're going to take over a federal government building. Does anyone believe they'd still be alive today? That we wouldn't have stormed that building immediately? Oh, no. Oh, some jihadists took over a federal building? Let's sit on it. Let's see what happens. Hey, don't rush to judgment. Maybe they're exercising their Second Amendment rights as Muslim Americans. Who would say that? Come on. No one believes that. No one. I don't care how right-wing you are. Oh, no, yeah, of course, man. There's a bunch of people on Twitter saying, oh, yeah, Obama would invite to the White House for tea. You don't believe that. 12 Muslim armed protesters. You think you'd call them protesters if they were armed Muslims? Okay. Take over a government building. The government's going in. They're going in. They're not sitting around. And if they didn't go in, you know what the right-wingers would say? Oh, look at this weakness by Obama. He's just going to let Muslim radicals take over federal buildings? What other federal buildings can they take over? Does anyone believe the right wing wouldn't say that? Okay, how about if it was black activists? Black Lives Matter activists decided enough with the peaceful protests. Let's go grab our guns. And the Crips and the Bloods decided, hey, you know what? I kind of like that idea. And Crips and Bloods are gangs. They do criminal activity. They like this Bundy idea of just stealing stuff and taking it and then pointing weapons at cops that show up. So they decide they're going to take over a federal building. You tell me black activists or gangs or whoever decides that they're going to take over a federal building and we're not going to storm it. We're going to have tea. We're going to have a conversation. They're going to go on TV. These Bundys are all over TV. Imagine a Muslim took over a federal building. And then he's like, oh, I'd like some time on the Today Show. And they're like, oh, come on in, of course. Yeah, there you go. Tell us about your grievances against the government. That's not the conversation we'd be having, and you know it. Okay, one more here. Explanation of what it is that they would like. The federal lands that the Bundys and their compatriots argue should be, quote, returned to the local overwhelmingly white population were once part of a reservation established by President Ulysses S. Grant for the northern, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that tribe's name, an American Indian tribe. Okay, I'll go with Northern Paiute. So you want to take the Native American land back for the whites? I think you're missing a chain in logic there. But hey, hashtag white privilege. White privilege is I get to take over buildings, threaten violence if anybody comes in. I get to be armed. I get to point it at cops. Cops don't shoot back. If you're Tamir Rice and you have a toy gun, you're going to get executed in 2 seconds. You're a bunch of armed thugs who have a record of stealing things and steal a federal building and say, I'll kill you if you come in. Hashtag white privilege. Don't worry about it. Oh, we'll have tea and crumpets and talk it over. Okay, we're still having those crumpets as we go to air here. What's been done so far? Not a goddamn thing. Now, look, if you're asking me, should we go in guns blazing and kill those things? Of course not. But I'm asking you to not kill Tamir Rice in 2 seconds, to afford him the same privilege that these sons of bitches have as they go and do arguably treasonable things. I mean, it's a treason against the U.S. government, saying I don't believe in the U.S. government. I'm going to usurp your authority. I'm going to take land and I'm going to distribute it to people I like. And that would be a core duty of the U.S. government. And yes, that's in essence treason. And you're doing it in an armed way. Did Tamir Rice or Jonathan Crawford get afforded those privileges when they were holding toy guns? No, they were shot dead within 2 seconds in one case, 6 seconds in another, and only because the bullet that they fired in the first second against Jonathan Crawford missed. They finished him off in 6 seconds and never asked the question. Meanwhile, we had the Bundy boys all over TV and now on video talking about, oh, yeah, well, here's what we got to do. Here's Eamon Bundy. Tell us all about your cause, Eamon.
Hammond Bundy here. There's been a lot of rumors bouncing around about what's going on in Harney County. There's been leaders of different militia groups, different organizations that have called for a stand down. And I am wanting to talk to the individual, to the patriot, that this is not a time to stand down. It is a time to stand up and come to Harney County. We need your help, and we're asking for it. No matter what your leader says, no matter what they're saying, you need to draw your own conclusions. You need to get to Burns on the 2nd or before. We need your help. Thank you.
Okay. You want to know something really funny? You know where they're asking you to send help? To a local post office box. I'm pretty sure that that's the U.S. government that's helping to deliver those packages to you guys. and then again pause to think for a second. Muslim jihadists have taken over a federal building. And they're saying, okay, now send help to this P.O. box nearby. Cops, you want to give us that stuff? Great, or I'll mosey on down. I mean, they're moseying over to TV cameras. The cops aren't coming and putting handcuffs on him. Can you imagine a jihadi comes out in front of the cameras? Hold on, I'm doing an interview with the Today Show, okay? Don't arrest me yet. And send help to that P.O. box. Here, you want to pick it up for me, cops? Yeah, that's how it would go down. No one in their right mind believes that. Okay, wait. They say, no, they haven't killed anybody yet. Yeah, Muslim radicals take over a building armed, and we would pause because they haven't killed anyone yet. Okay, so here are their explanations. Here's Bundy again. He says, we are not terrorists. We are concerned citizens and realize we have to act if we want to pass along anything to our children. Like, you mean land that isn't yours? Well, that's pretty convenient. I mean, I wanted to pass along that car, so I carjacked it and passed it along to my kids. I know it's not mine, but I steal shit all the time. I'm Bundy. Hey, I'm going to steal land in Oregon. I got nothing to do with Oregon. Never been in Oregon. I'm going to steal that land and give it to my children. They're white children. They're good children. They're real Americans. Okay. When you have to start a sentence with, we are not terrorists, you might want to check yourself. Okay? So he continues to say, we have no intentions of using force upon anyone, but if force is used against us, we would defend ourselves. That means you walk into this building and we will fire our weapons and kill you. Okay, if it's not clear enough, I'll give you more. More from this character. We're planning on staying here for several years. Good luck with that. We're calling people to come out here and stand. We have a place for you to stay warm. We have food planned and prepared. We need you to bring your arms. Imagine the jihadis say, oh no, we're going to stay here in this federal building we kidnapped for several years. Bring food and bring your arms. And the federal government's like, let's give him a fair chance here. Let's give him a fair chance. Okay. Bundy continues, and we need you to come to the Militia National Wildlife Refuge. And then we go to Ian Culgren, who is another one of these militia activists. He says, the militiamen are, quote, willing to kill and be killed if necessary. Was that clear enough as to what these terrorist intentions are? John Ritzheimer, another militia member, says, and so-called leader, I am 100% willing to lay my life down to defend against tyranny in this country. Does it sound like it's nonviolent? He continues to say, we need real men here. Americans who have the intestinal fortitude to come here and take a stand and say enough is enough. To my family, just know that I stood for something. Don't let it be in vain. I love you. This man's planning to die here. Now, how's he going to die? Okay, well, he brought weapons. They have said now over and over, I just quoted for you, I've got another video coming. If you come in here to a building we do not own, that we took the building hostage, it's a federal building, we stole it. If you come in here, we're going to shoot you. You're going to shoot us. We'll likely die, but that's okay. I'm going to try to kill as many of you as possible. Okay. Again, Brandon Curtis, another militia leader. Oh, we won't fire anything unless we're fired upon. But dude, when I ask you to walk out the building, are you going to walk out the building? If you say no and you're going to draw your gun, that means you're resisting arrest. Now, Tamir Rice didn't even have a chance to point his toy gun at the cops before he was executed by them. These guys say, we have real guns, we're willing to point it at cops and kill those cops. Yay, right wing. Okay, Ian Culgren says, he's a reporter. He said, I talked to Ryan Bundy on the phone again. He said they're willing to kill and be killed if necessary. There you go again. Kill and be killed. What part of this does not sound like terrorism to you? Okay, now, Eamon Bundy, I'm going to run this clip, guys, video 4. Goes on the Today Show, la-di-da-di-da, and decides that he's going to threaten more violence. Okay, let's listen.
Only violence that, if it comes our way, will be because government is wanting their building back, and that's what it would be about. We're putting nobody in harm's way. We are not threatening anybody.
Wait, what does that mean? If the government wants its building back, yeah, you stole the building. Of course the government's going to want their building back. What do you think? They're just going to let you keep it? So, okay, all right, well, you let me steal over there in Nevada, and you let me steal this, and I guess I'll get to steal more land. And if the government wants its land back, I guess we're going to have violence, okay? No. The cops get to, that's their core job, is if you've stolen something, they get to take it back. And if you fire upon them, the cops didn't cause that violence. You caused that violence by saying, I steal this, and if you come to take it back, I shoot you in the head. See, that is you causing the violence. Now, if you just let me keep the shit I stole, then there wouldn't be any problem. That's why I pointed a gun at your head. What's he doing on TV? Why isn't that guy immediately arrested the minute he steps outside? We're having a conversation with these guys? I don't want anybody hurt. I know we don't want to storm the place because then you're going to have the violence that these guys are talking about. They're going to kill a bunch of cops. And then, of course, Fox News will defend them, right? Look, it's not the same thing. You can't call them thugs. You can't call them terrorists. No, I mean, they're planning to kill cops. Black Lives Matter never killed any cops. But I'll call them a hate group saying that they're causing cops' lives to be in danger, even though that's not remotely true. These guys who are saying, I will murder police officers, well, I mean, yeah, we condemn it. We condemn it. But I mean, really, I mean, they've got a legitimate grievance here. And no, you can't call them terrorists. You can't call them thugs. And you can't, talk about how violent they are and how they actually aim to kill government officials. Okay, well, I have, they are thugs. That's terrorists do take over government buildings and threaten to shoot government officials. That's what terrorists do. So you now have the facts. You can make your own decision. But at some point, we're going to have to remove their ass from that building. I hope that it's done peacefully. I hope these jackasses put their guns down and walk out. If they don't, I can't remember the last time America has had sympathy for terrorists. We'll see if it happens in this case.